Business is changing fast. Technology is moving faster. Customers expect more, and leaders everywhere are striving to keep up. And that's why top business executives gathered in Lagos for the Sixth Sense Business Leaders Roundtable 2025. Held at 4 Points by Sheraton, Victoria Island, the event brought together CEOs, business leaders, and young professionals under one roof to listen, learn, share ideas, and even forge partnerships that can drive sustainable growth. In his address, Bright UK Ukwenga, CEO of Scribe Tribe Africa, emphasized the importance of preparing today to remain relevant in the future of work.
As a senior executive, you own the business in that sense. A stakeholder, you own the business. You are expected to take ownership. And sometimes people just don't understand what's going on up there in your head. They just think that you're making money. It's not always that you're making money, it's the fact that you understand the weight of responsibility that comes with running an organization.
Also speaking, Abiomi Molehin, Chief Strategy Officer at Continental Reinsurance, highlighted the role of clear strategy and market insight in building resilient organizations.
Before we go into discussing strategy, I often like to start with this definition. In that definition, you have three key components, right? You have the best route, you have desirable ends, you have available means. And best route essentially means the pathway you choose, the course of action, the choices you make to get to your desirable ends. Desirable ends are what? Goals, vision, the end state that you have in mind. And your available means speaks to what? Resources. Am I correct? Speaks to what? Your capabilities, what you have at your disposal. It doesn't have to always be financial. It can be human resources. It can be superior technology, right? It can be superior skill set. There are organizations that have huge cash but don't have some technological advancement. There are some that have technological advancements, they don't have the cash, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that one is superior over the other. Oftentimes, you even find underdog stories in the business world.
There were more thought-provoking presentations from Samantha Ifezulike, and head of operations at Jobberman Nigeria, and Ismail Olasi, founder of Deot, both sharing actionable insights on innovation and leadership.
An organization that invests in the talent outperform peers by 2x in productivity. So you see people, it's like you employ people into your organization and expect them to just fly. But if you do not tell them your certain procedure, your processes, or what you even expect, or let me say your expected quality of performance, then it will dwindle. There's a reason why the big fours are known as the big four, because there's so much investment in the people, both technical and soft skills. Most times we overlook soft skills, but soft skills also help the business. So imagine someone that has a very poor communication skill, and then you've given them to a very top tier client, and just an email communication spoils the entire business. And imagine if that email communication lost you about 50 million. So we also need to look at it from that angle. Technical training, fantastic. However, soft skill is also necessary for your business.
Technology has gotten to that level whereby it's so intelligent enough to understand your routine. It's so intelligent enough to also understand how you behave. I've seen a whole lot of companies actually die because of the adoption of technology. And there is this FOMO that always go around, that because my competitor is using this technology, I must also do the same. But the problem is, just like Yomi mentioned the other time, that the pathway to your success will always be different, from strategy to people and then to technology. Because the truth of the matter is that, right, for anything you want to achieve, you need strategy. And Samantha also mentioned quite well that you need people to be able to execute that. But what exactly are they going to use to execute that?
That is where technology comes in.
By the end of the day, participants walked away inspired, armed with fresh ideas, meaningful connections, and renewed confidence to navigate the evolving business landscape.
There are several issues that African business leaders make, and it's some of these issues are not just peculiar to African business leaders, they are also general. One of the major issues we are addressing here is the issue of leadership development. We've said that one leader can start a business and perhaps even grow the business, but it takes leaders to grow or to scale that business. So one starts, many other skills. So we have to be able to democratize leadership development, ensure that people have access to decision making, they are empowered to be able to drive change. Not only the leader themselves are doing such things. This other side of it, which we also try to address, was neglecting things like data in decision making. It's not enough to just come and say, I have a premonition or I'm running based on my intuition. This is how I feel about these issues. You have to be able to think in terms of data. All right. And that's why we talked earlier about analytical intelligence, the ability to think clearly, gather data, interpret data, and use data to make informed decisions. So it's important that we're able to bring all of these together in order to be able to advance whatever it is that we are doing in a better way.
Well, I may not be able to narrow it down to one, but there are quite a number of blind spots that you find organizations fall into that trap. One, I think, that stands, that comes to mind very quickly and every time is, copying your competition and assuming that what they do is exactly what you need to do. Right? Oftentimes you find that the decisions business take should be customized to their current situation. Right? But if you end up in a scenario where you copy what your competitors are doing, you may be setting yourself up for failure, right? Sometimes people get blindsided by the noise from competition. You can learn from your competition, but be careful not to copy and paste and apply exactly what they're doing, because what they're doing is much more oftentimes suitable for their particular context. There are a number of other things. Ignoring trends in your industry, ignoring feedback from customers. I found a number of CEOs sometimes get to live in a bubble where customers are giving feedback about, not so positive reaction to your product, to your service. Instead of addressing it promptly, sometimes organizations, CEOs tend to let that slide. They let that fester for a while. But oftentimes they don't realize that at the end of the day, it could lead to losing market share and their position in the industry. One that I would speak on extensively is their ability to execute. You see, it's one thing for you to document a strategy. It's another thing to get it done, right? Many times you find organizations struggle with execution. They plan to do X, Y, Z, but they end up not doing even X, right? So I think that's an area where organizations struggle, strategy execution. The formulation is not as easy, but oftentimes people get it done somehow, right? You can get a consultant, but you can get your team to get formulation done. You formulate what you want to do. That's the plan, right? But usually where organizations struggle is executing the plan, right? And that's an area that is underinvested, even from a knowledge point of view, from a training point of view within organizations, right? That's an area where organizations need to pay attention to. Otherwise, they tend to find themselves stuck in the past. Right, this is what we plan to do, and when they come for the next strategy session next year, they find out that the things they are discussing now are still the same things that they planned to do last year. Right, I've seen scenarios in my consulting experience where what an organization discussed 5 years ago is what they are discussing 5 years later, and realizing that, we didn't do this, we didn't do that, and it all boils down to that ability to get strategy executed. I believe businesses must invest in that capability.